Good morning, everybody. Boker Tov. It's nice to start the morning with friends in Washington, D.C. The remarkable alliance between Israel and the U.S. has grown stronger decade after decade. This alliance has been championed by both parties, and so it must remain. We must always remember that the relationship between Israel and America are rooted in a common heritage and a common values. Israel should never become a partisan issue and must always remain above politics. I want to thank members of Congress, Democrats and Republicans, for their commitment to bipartisanship. We deeply appreciate your steadfast support for Israel year in, year out. You have our boundless gratitude. In that spirit, I would like to welcome three leaders in Congress who exemplify what it means to stand on this issue together. Congressman Ted Deutch represents Florida's 22nd Congressional District. Now he's in his fifth term in Congress. He is the ranking Democrat on the Middle East and North Africa subcommittee of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Representative Deutch is deeply committed to a strong U.S.-Israel relationship. Just 2 weeks ago, the House of Representatives passed a bill authored by Representative Deutch that urged the European Union to fully designate Hezbollah as a terrorist organization. Congressman Deutch understands that a safe and secure United States also required a safe and secure Israel, and we are so grateful to have him as our ally in Congress. We are so thrilled that he is joining us here today. Since 2011, Congressman Chuck Fleischmann has represented Tennessee's 3rd Congressional District. As a member of the all-important Appropriation Committee, Representative Fleischmann does all he can to appropriate funds to strengthen our ally Israel. Each year since Representative Fleischmann has been in Congress, the Appropriation Committee has appropriated about $3 billion in direct military assistance to Israel, as well as an additional few hundreds millions in cooperative U.S.-Israel missiles defense program. We are so grateful that we can count on Representative Fleischmann to make sure that that funding goes through each year. Congressman Brad Schneider is serving in his 2nd term, representing Illinois' 10th District. He is also a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. In the past few weeks, the House of Representatives has passed a number of bills designated to strengthen the security of both the United States and Israel. In addition to the Hezbollah bill, the House passed an important bill that originated in the Foreign Affairs Committee that will further target the dangerous Iranian regime. As a key member of the Foreign Affairs, we are so grateful to Representative Schneider for his tremendous leadership. Thank you. In an increasingly polarized and partisan political environment, there are so few issues that members of both sides of the aisle can agree on. Yet, here we are, 2 Democrats and 1 Republican on this panel, and our next panel will have 2 Republicans and 1 Democrat. You're all passionate about Israel and a strong U.S.-Israel relationship. Why is there so much support on both sides of the aisle for Israel, and what can we do to ensure that continue? We'll start with you, Congressman Deutch.
Well, Shawn, thanks, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to join with you today. You're absolutely right. The support for the U.S.-Israel relationship is very strong, and most importantly, as you pointed out, it is bipartisan. And it's bipartisan because the members of Congress understand that wherever they come from, it's important for the United States not just to have close allies around the world because they share security needs, and that's true. It's particularly true with Israel. But it's especially the case that the U.S. and Israel are so close because of the shared values that they have. And when we have a chance in our own districts to talk to our constituents about the U.S.-Israel relationship and help them understand those shared values and the commitment to freedom and the commitment to human rights and ensuring that there is opportunity for everyone, that's something that people understand. As far as your members in the IAC, we do our best to tell our constituents, to tell our colleagues how important this is and to share with them our experiences. But there is nothing more important than having people from the community come to share their own experiences. And as Israeli Americans especially, no one is in a better position to help their neighbors and our colleagues understand why the U.S.-Israel relationship is so strong, so important, and why we have to continue to work so hard to strengthen it and to build it.
Thank you, Congressman Fleischmann.
Thank you. As a member of the Appropriations Committee, I have an opportunity to actually travel around the world and meet with other world leaders. And as Ted said, when we go on these trips, sometimes we are Republicans and Democrats together. And I want to tell you a story about earlier this year. I was sitting in the President of Egypt's office on Palm Sunday. This is the day of the Coptic bombings and things like that. But Republicans and Democrats together telling the President of Egypt our steadfast support for Israel. We speak with one voice in that regard. That is very important. The first thing he told us is he was proud to be doing joint maneuvers with Israel in the Sinai. So it's very important, if you can take away one thing from this, Republicans and Democrats, it's important on a lot of issues, but we are Americans first, and our steadfast ally in the world is Israel, and we let the rest of the world know it. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. Thank you for being here. Bruchim Habayim. It is the relationship between the United States and Israel is one that, as was mentioned, is based on values, shared interests in democracy, shared concern about what's happening around the world, taking care of others, but it's also one that's very important strategically. As was already said, a secure and safe United States depends on a secure and safe Israel. A secure and safe Israel depends on a strong relationship with the United States. Both sides of the aisle understand this. It's not by accident. It's because so many people like you come to the Hill, meet with members of Congress on both sides of the aisle and both in the House and in the Senate to help them understand why the relationship, the unique and unbreakable bond between the United States and Israel is so crucial. This is something that I have no doubt will continue because it's in both our nation's interest to make sure it does.
Thank you. The United States and Israel have many shared challenges, some related to security, concerns such as terrorism and cybersecurity, and other related to water and energy resources. How we here in America can benefit from Israel, from the relationship with Israel.
I'll jump in on that. I think the relationship with the United States and Israel is mutually beneficial literally every single day. From a security standpoint, where it's shared technologies, the development of Iron Dome, David Sling, the aerial missile self-defense, the sharing of information, security information, but also general information, the development of new technologies around medicine, around agriculture. This is a relationship that has benefited both countries and, in fact, the entire world. It is the link between our two countries, the fact that we share so much that allows us to develop the innovation, build on the creativity, and make the world a better place.
Well said. I'm very privileged in my district. I represent an East Tennessee district, and for my colleagues, we can be friends. It's a solid Republican district. I have Oak Ridge National Laboratory in my district. Now, Oak Ridge is the city where we developed the first atomic weapon, won World War II there, won the Cold War there. But right now, Oak Ridge National Lab is literally leading the world in technology. And I think what we can do is work with Israel. When you look at Tel Aviv, Tel Aviv is one of the greatest technological centers in the world right now. It's truly incredible. So I've always believed if you get great minds together, they will work together and prosper together. So that's one of the ways that we can work with technology, transfers, and science, and all those advancements. Thank you.
I would just add to that, of all of the issues that we work on in the U.S.-Israel relationship, the security issues are obviously critical, and the work that we're doing to take on Hezbollah, the work that we're doing right now that's, I think, more important than any other issue that we're grappling with, which is how to ensure that we take firm and strong action against Iran to prevent Iran from spreading terrorism throughout the region. Those are important, but I'm really proud of the work that our committee did a couple years ago when we passed a piece of legislation that my colleague, the chairman of the Middle East Subcommittee, Ileana Ross-Layton, and I introduced, the U.S.-Israel Strategic Partnership Act, that yes, acknowledges the importance of the security relationship, but then provides ways to build upon the relationship to help in cybersecurity and in agriculture, water, so many issues that matter so much. In my district in South Florida, where water issues are so critical, where we spend a lot of time worrying about water supply, we can look to Israel for so many examples as to how to address this. And specifically, we now have companies in South Florida, and I know that there are some good number of South Floridians who are here, but we have companies, Israeli companies in our area, in our community, who are helping to do the kind of research and come up with the kinds of products that will help us even build further in the technology space and in the efforts to ensure that we have water supply, and we're doing all we can. This is the importance of the relationship, and it's in all of these areas that we can build it so that if you're in South Florida or Chicago or Tennessee, it's one thing, but if you live in the heartland, what we can learn from Israel in terms of agriculture goes so far. There is so much that we can build upon. It's just a matter of recognizing it and using the strength of the relationship to better both our country and Israel together.
Thank you. What advice do you have for us as Israeli Americans who want to play a role in strengthening the U.S.-Israel relationship? As an immigrant community, how can we leverage this to our advantage when we're advocating for this important relationship? And I know I've spoke to some of you and many members of Congress before, and one of the things they kept telling me is that we bring a personal perspective, not just a pro-Israel perspective. We have families there, we have brothers, sisters, parents. So what's the advice you can give our community?
Get active. It's very important to me when I go into a school and I can bring someone. We're very fortunate in Chattanooga now. We have an Orthodox rabbi in Chattanooga right now, Rabbi Perlstein, and he's great. And he will go out and actually talk to other members in the community. The Jewish community in Chattanooga is only about 1,300. It's not large like in some of the other parts of the country. So get active, know your member of Congress, and please get into the schools and teach the children. I love to go into the schools, but when I go into the schools, it's very important that the world know, that the young people know that there was a Holocaust, what went on. Talk about how we formed Israel and how close the relationship is now between the United States and Israel. We must let the young people know what has gone in the past so that those sins can't be repeated in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Congressman Schneider.
Thank you. I'll say the same thing. Use your voice. Speak out strong and speak out consistently. It's important that you come here and speak to members of Congress, but it's also important that you speak to people in your community, your friends, your neighbors. Go to the schools and speak. The two threats I see to the U.S.-Israel relationship is if the relationship ever becomes partisan. Our first question dealt with that, the fact that Israel is a nonpartisan issue. It's not Republican, it's not Democrat. We're all working together to make sure that relationship is solid. But the second threat I'll touch on is if the Jewish community in Israel and the Jewish community in the United States become separated. We need to keep those together. So don't just speak to your family and friends here in the United States. Speak to your family and friends still in Israel to make sure that we keep the bonds going both directions. Speak up, speak out, and know that your voice is heard here.
Congressman Deutch.
Thanks. Look, it's one thing for any of us to talk about 150,000 rockets in Lebanon pointed all at every corner of Israel. We can talk about tunnels, terror tunnels from Gaza that Hamas is building into Israel. We should also stop to be grateful for the destruction of that tunnel just over the past few days. We should, and we can talk about the concerns that we have about Iran having a location and being in such close proximity to Israel and to the Golan. But you're in a position to talk about it in personal terms because so many of you have family who are facing all of those threats directly. And so your voices are very powerful. And just one last word on this. There is no one who is better able than Israeli Americans to go to talk to your neighbors and to talk to members of Congress and Senate and to tell them that when one country is singled out to be delegitimized, when there is one country in the world that others think is okay to criticize its very existence, that is a risk that we cannot take, that it's unacceptable. My friends, that's what the BDS movement does. Your voices in speaking out against the BDS movement and efforts to target Israel through the BDS movement are more powerful than any others, and I'm so grateful that you're lending your voices to that important work.
Gentlemen, Congressmen, thank you all for being here this morning. Appreciate your time and commitment to the U.S.-Israel relationship. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Representative Ed Royce, Representative Joe Wilson, and Representative Brad Sherman, moderated by Dr. Yoaz Hindel.